Hi y'all, so now we're continuing to talk about division, and we need to talk about the placement of your values, whether they're in the numerator or the denominator, because it makes a difference as far as what the quotient will be. So let's look at arithmetic at two expressions. I have the expression 15 divided by 3, and I have the expression 3 divided by 15. Now, those are two fractions. Remember, fractions have the division bar, so that's why we're talking about division today. Do those two fractions have the same value? Do they mean the same thing? Well, I would guess that you would all say no. Well, let's make sure we understand why. In the first expression, if you say 15 divided by 3, that means you're starting with 15. So let's pretend we have $15, okay? Divide by 3 means to take that $15 and divide it into 3 equal groups. So if you had to take $15 and divide it among 3 friends, how much would everybody get? That's right. 15 divided by 3 is 5. So if I had $15 and I was going to be sweet and share it with 3 of my friends, each friend would get $5. How do you write 5 as a fraction? Now remember, from arithmetic, you can take any whole number and write it as a fraction if you make the denominator a 1. So when you say the answer to 15 divided by 3 is 5, you're saying it's 5 over 1, which is 5. So what I want you to notice is the placement. In our expression 15 divided by 3, 15, the numerator, is the bigger number. Therefore, when you divide it, your answer, your quotient 5, is technically in the numerator. But you all know we don't write 5 divided by 1 because 5 divided by one person is still 5. So now if we look at the other expression, 3 divided by 15, okay? 3 divided by 15 does not mean we're starting with $15. It means we're only starting with $3. So if I start with $3 and I divide that among 15 of my friends, would they each get $5? No. Most of us know if you have $3 and you have to divide it among 15 people, everybody's going to get part of something, change, which is not a whole number, which would be a fraction and or a decimal. So what happens is when you divide 3 and 15, you're still doing the division from 3rd grade. 3 and 15, when you divide, gets 5. But now the 5 can't go in the numerator because the bigger number 15 is now located in the denominator. So the 5 goes in the denominator. Well, you can't just write a 5 in the denominator with a fraction bar and leave the numerator blank. That's where the 1 comes from. So 3 divided by 15 is not 5, it's 1 over 5, or 1/5. And a fifth of $1 is 20 cents, which makes sense. If I had $3 and I was dividing them among 15 of you, you would not get a whole amount, you would get a part, which is change, which is 20 cents. So the rule of thumb is when we look at a fraction, which is division, if the numerator is the bigger number, that's where your answer goes for the quotient. If your denominator is the bigger number, that's where your answer goes for the quotient. Well, if that's true in arithmetic, it's true in algebra. So everybody look, I have two expressions. I have x to the 6th divided by x to the 5th. I have x to the 5th divided by x to the 6th. They cannot give me the same quotient. Even though it sounded the same, they're not. If you look at that first expression, x to the 6th divided by x to the 5th, who's bigger? Where are there more x's? In the numerator or the denominator? The numerator. X to the 6th means there's 6 x's in the top, where x to the 5th means there's only 5 x's on the bottom. Well, the rule is, we learned, when we divide the same base, the same variable, we subtract the exponents. So you're right, 6 minus 5 would be 1. We would have x to the 1st. Here's the important part. Where would you place it? Would that x to the 1st go in the numerator or the denominator? It would go where there were more x's. Well, we know there were more x's in the numerator because it was x to the 6th. So when we divide x to the 6th divided by x to the 5th, we get x to the 1st in the numerator over 1, but x to the 1st over 1 is just good old x. Whereas if I flip that fraction and I wrote my expression as x to the 5th divided by x to the 6th, I still do the same rule. I still would say, okay, I'm doing division. My letters, my bases are the same. They're both x's. I'm supposed to subtract my exponents, 5 and 6. Well, when I subtract 5 and 6, I get 1. But now, where are there more x's? When you say x to the 5th over x to the 6th, where are there more x's? Now they're in the denominator. So that quotient, that answer you got, x, is now in the denominator. And if you put the x in the denominator, you can't leave your numerator blank. You got to put a 1. So that is why x to the 5th divided by x to the 6th would be 1 over x. So just keep that in mind as we work through our expressions in a minute. When we do division, your answer, your quotient, goes where there was more. All right, let's try some in the video.